My lazy coworker showed up late, left early, and dumped her work on me, giggling. You actually care about this job, so you won't let it go unfinished. When I finally stopped covering for her, she complained to the boss, expecting me to get in trouble. Her smirk vanished when the boss pulled out the attendance logs and said, "Actually, you're the one who's been slacking, and this is your final warning." I work at a mid-sized marketing firm in Chicago. I've been here for about 5 years, and for the most part, it's been a decent place to work. That was until a new colleague, Sarah, joined our team. Sarah was hired as a marketing coordinator, and from the outset, she seemed personable and eager to learn. However, it quickly became evident that her work ethic was lacking. Sarah had a habit of arriving late to the office, often strolling in with a Starbucks cup in hand well past our official start time. She'd offer a half-hearted apology, citing traffic or a long line at the coffee shop. Initially, I gave her the benefit of the doubt. After all, everyone has off days. But when this became a daily occurrence, it started to grate on my nerves. Our team was responsible for managing multiple client accounts, and timely communication was crucial. Sarah's tardiness meant that morning meetings were often delayed, and clients were left waiting for responses. To compensate, I found myself picking up the slack, ensuring that deadlines were met and clients remained satisfied. I believed that by covering for her, I was maintaining the team's reputation. However, Sarah's lack of commitment didn't stop at arriving late. She had a penchant for leaving early, often citing vague personal commitments. On several occasions, she'd approach me with a sweet smile and say, "You're so good at this, and you actually care about this job. Would you mind finishing up this report for me? I have an appointment I can't miss." Her tone was always light, almost as if she were doing me a favor by entrusting me with her tasks. At first, I agreed, thinking it was a one-time favor. But as weeks turned into months, it became clear that Sarah was taking advantage of my diligence. She'd offload her work onto me, confident that I wouldn't let things fall through the cracks. The imbalance was glaring, and my own workload became overwhelming. One evening, after staying late to complete yet another one of Sarah's assignments, I had an epiphany. By continually covering for her, I was enabling her behavior and allowing her to shirk her responsibilities without consequence. I decided it was time to set boundaries. The next morning, when Sarah approached me with her usual request to finish a client presentation so she could leave early, I politely declined. I told her that I had my own deadlines to meet and couldn't take on additional work. She looked taken aback but didn't press the issue. I hoped that this would be a wake-up call for her to take her role more seriously. However, instead of stepping up, Sarah decided to play the victim. She approached our manager, claiming that I was being uncooperative and creating a hostile work environment. She painted a picture of herself as a dedicated employee who was being undermined by a colleague. I was summoned to a meeting with our manager to discuss the allegations. During the meeting, I calmly presented my side of the story. I detailed the numerous times Sarah had been late, left early, and delegated her tasks to me. I emphasized that my intention was always to support the team and ensure our clients received the best service. Our manager listened attentively, and then did something unexpected. He pulled out the attendance logs and cross-referenced them with project timelines. The evidence was clear. Sarah had a consistent pattern of tardiness and early departures, and there was a direct correlation between her absences and my increased workload. Turning to Sarah, he said, "It's evident that you've been neglecting your responsibilities and relying heavily on your colleague to cover for you. This behavior is unacceptable and serves as your final warning. Any further infractions will result in more severe consequences." Sarah's face turned pale, and she nodded silently. From that day forward, there was a noticeable change in her behavior. She started arriving on time, staying for the full workday, and handling her assignments independently. While our interactions remained professional, the camaraderie we might have developed was lost. Nevertheless, I felt a sense of relief and validation. By standing up for myself and setting clear boundaries, I had not only alleviated my own stress but also upheld the integrity of our team. So after that meeting, I figured it was over. Sarah had been warned, she backed off, and I could finally get back to doing my job without the weight of hers added on top. For about 2 weeks, everything seemed okay. She came in mostly on time, stayed until 5, handled her assignments, didn't throw anything on my desk at the last minute. I could breathe again. But then something changed. It started subtle. She'd shoot me these tight little smiles in meetings, fake nice stuff. Not friendly. Not genuine. Just fake. Like she wanted everyone else to think we were fine. I didn't care. I wasn't trying to be her friend. But then I started noticing small things going wrong. Files getting misplaced. Emails going missing. Stuff I knew I had done, I double-checked I had done, started disappearing or getting, accidentally, messed up. One time, I had just finished building a deck for a big client pitch. I stayed late 3 nights in a row to get it perfect. The morning of the presentation, my boss called me and asking where the updated file was. I checked the shared drive, gone. Just gone. The only thing left was the old version, half complete, and completely useless. I was panicking. I told him I swore I uploaded it, and I started combing through backup folders. Nothing. Then Sarah chimed in, all innocent. "Oh, I think I saw the file on the drive 2 days ago, but I thought it was just a draft. Maybe someone deleted it by accident." The way she said it, calm, casual, eyes wide like she cared, made my blood boil. But I kept it together. That afternoon, I started keeping backups of everything. On my desktop, on a USB, on my personal Google Drive. I was being set up. I was sure of it. Then she took it a step further. She started talking to people. Quietly. Over lunch, after meetings, in the break room. And not just the usual gossip. I caught bits and pieces. Her dropping hints that I was burned out, hard to work with, acting different lately. The kind of things that plant seeds. And in an office like ours, once a seed is planted, it spreads fast. People I used to chat with at the coffee machine started avoiding me. One of my teammates, Jason, even asked me if I was okay because, "You seem stressed lately, and Sarah said you've been under a lot of pressure." I didn't explode. I didn't yell. But inside I was fuming. Then came the twist I wasn't ready for. One Friday morning, my manager, Dave, called me into his office. I thought it was about a new client we'd just landed. Instead, he looked uncomfortable and slid a piece of paper across his desk. It was a formal notice. HR had received a complaint. From Sarah. She claimed I had been undermining her performance, creating a hostile environment, and, get this, sabotaging her work. She accused me of doing the exact thing she'd been doing to me for weeks. I asked Dave if he believed any of it. He said HR had to look into it either way. He looked like he wanted to say more, but he didn't. I was put on a temporary performance watch while they reviewed the situation. It wasn't a suspension, but it was basically a warning with my name on it. That night I couldn't sleep. I was so angry my hands were shaking. But I wasn't going to let her win. I went back over every weird little thing that had happened in the past month. I found timestamps on files I knew she had edited. I pulled email records showing she accessed my projects. I even found a Slack message where she said, "I thought you uploaded it," in response to me confirming I had. And the real kicker? The security camera logs. I asked IT to help me, quietly. I told them there might have been a security breach, and I needed help checking if a shared drive folder had been tampered with. I didn't tell them who. Just that I had suspicions. They checked the log history. One of the deleted files had been accessed and removed from the shared drive under her user ID. I didn't report it yet. Not until I had everything. So I waited, collected, backed up, dated, labeled. I printed out emails, screenshots, logs, and I sat on it all, waiting for her to make her next move. And she did. It wasn't long before she dropped another complaint. This time, she accused me of monitoring her and invading her privacy. I laughed when HR sent me the email. That was the moment I went in with everything. Every file. Every log. Every scrap of proof. But I won't spoil what happened next just yet. Because this part? It got real fast. And I knew, once I handed it over, there was no going back. When I finally handed everything over to HR, I expected things to move fast. But a week went by then too, and all I got were polite emails saying, "We're reviewing the documentation, thank you for your patience." Meanwhile, Sarah acted like nothing happened. She walked around the office like she owned the place. Laughing in the break room, sharing those same fake smiles. She even brought donuts one morning and said it was just to boost team morale. I didn't touch them. Then, one afternoon, I got called into HR again. This time, it wasn't Dave. It was someone higher up, Karen from corporate HR. She said she had a few follow-up questions. I sat down, ready to walk her through everything again, but then she dropped something that threw me off completely. She said there was a second complaint. Not from Sarah. From another coworker. Someone else had anonymously reported that I was difficult to collaborate with and intimidating during meetings. Karen said it was part of a pattern they were trying to understand. I knew right then Sarah was getting to people. She was recruiting. Planting seeds again, but this time deeper. Smarter. She wasn't dumb, manipulative, yes, but not dumb. And apparently she'd figured out how to twist others against me just enough that they'd start seeing what she wanted them to see. I walked out of that meeting and sat at my desk quiet. That sinking feeling? It was like being underwater and realizing you're too deep to reach the surface in one breath. I had proof, yes, but now it wasn't just about proof. It was about perception. That's when something happened I didn't expect. Jason, the same coworker who asked if I was stressed weeks earlier, came up to me in the break room. He looked nervous, like he didn't want to be seen with me. "Hey," he said, keeping his voice low. "I think something's going on." I didn't say anything. Just waited. He glanced over his shoulder, then leaned in. "Sarah's been weird. She asked me to back her up on some stuff she said you did. Like subtle stuff. Told me HR might ask questions and I should say you were acting off lately. Said it was no big deal, just to make sure the story matched." My heart was pounding, but I kept my face still. "She said what exactly?" I asked. "She said you've been stressed, moody, and kind of aggressive when people ask you for help. But that it's because you're under pressure, and we should be understanding." It sounded fake. That was it. That was the proof I needed, a witness. I asked Jason if he'd be willing to tell HR. He hesitated, clearly uncomfortable. I didn't blame him. But after a minute he nodded. "I'll think about it," he said. "But yeah, I don't like being used." It was a crack in her wall, and I clung to it. That night, I went through every message I ever got from Sarah. I found something I'd forgotten, a DM she sent me a month back saying, "LOL, you're so obsessed with doing everything right, it's kind of cute tbh." It didn't sound like much, but in context, with everything else, it started painting a bigger picture. One where I wasn't the aggressor. I was the target. And then something huge happened. One morning, Dave didn't show up. Rumors started flying by lunch. He was out, something about an investigation. Nobody knew details. But by 3 p.m., word got around that he had been placed on leave. That night I got a message from someone I barely knew, Sandra from the legal team. It just said, "I think you should be careful. There's more to this than you think." That was it. No context. More than I think? What did that even mean? I started digging. Quietly. Looking at patterns. I noticed Sarah had worked under Dave before, at a different office in the same company years ago. Same department. She wasn't just a new hire. She was brought in by him. And now she was accusing me. And he was suddenly gone. Something was off. I don't have all the answers yet. But I know there's more to this. And whatever it is, I'm not going down without dragging everything into the light. A few days after Sandra's message, I couldn't shake the feeling something much bigger was happening. I kept to myself, kept doing my job, but I watched everything. Who talked to who avoided eye contact, who suddenly seemed nervous when I entered a room. Jason came through. He agreed to speak to HR and tell them about what Sarah had asked him to do. His report flipped something. You could feel the shift. People stopped avoiding me. A few even apologized. Quietly, but they did. Then HR went silent again for a week. Until one Friday morning, they called for an all-staff meeting. Everyone was told to come to the big conference room. People were whispering, confused. These kinds of meetings didn't happen unless something serious went down. HR and someone from corporate legal were there. It was awkward, tense. Nobody wanted to sit next to Sarah. She walked in late, of course, wearing heels that clicked louder than the silence in that room. Then they dropped the bomb. Dave had been fired. He'd been reported by more than one employee. Women from our office and the last one he worked at, for inappropriate behavior, favoritism, and for covering up complaints. Sarah wasn't just some random bad employee. She was part of it. She had helped him in return for easy promotions, light work, and protection. The second bomb hit harder. Sarah had been recording people. Trying to gather dirt. Not just me, others too. Trying to trap them into sounding toxic, or aggressive. It backfired when one of the recordings caught her bragging about how she could get anyone written up if she played it right. HR got a copy anonymously. Turns out, she slipped and sent it to the wrong email address one night. Probably while high or drunk, no way to know. The room was dead silent. She tried to laugh it off. Said it was taken out of context. But nobody was buying it. Then HR looked at me and said, "And to the person who brought everything to light, we thank you." I didn't smile. I didn't nod. I just stared at Sarah. She didn't smirk this time. No fake giggle. Just dead eyes, like she realized for the first time she wasn't in control. They walked her out that afternoon. But here's where I tell you my part in all this. I wasn't perfect. I let things slide for too long. I enabled her early on. I didn't report her the first, second, or even third time she dumped her work on me. I wanted to be the good coworker, the one who could handle anything. That need to be seen as reliable? It nearly ruined me. And it made it easier for her to play the victim. That's on me. But I fixed it. I fought back, I gathered proof, and I didn't just save myself, I exposed something way uglier. Dave's firing sent shockwaves through the company. Policies got rewritten. HR started checking logs more often. People learned to speak up faster. As for me, I didn't stay. 2 months later, I gave my notice. Not because I lost, but because I won. I cleaned up my desk, walked out the front door, and never looked back. I left with my head high. And Sarah? She left in disgrace, her references burned, her name blacklisted from most of the industry. Word gets around fast in marketing. They say revenge is best served cold. But honestly, it tasted just fine at room temperature.